Okay, paper 1, English language. I'm going to teach it to you, and yeah. So, English paper 1, language paper 1. How often do you hear you can't revise for English language? Well, in fact, nothing could be further from the truth. But revising for, by knowing the exact thing, like what to do and what to expect on each paper, what the examiner is expecting from you in your answers, and mastering the and underpinning skills required to achieve the best possible outcome in each question. Language 1 is the fiction paper. It is all about exploring creative reading and writing, and it is divided into 2 sections. Section A is reading, and this will be based on the quality of your reading skills, based on the literature, fiction, text, and this will be 40 marks. Section B is writing, and here you will be assessed on the quality of your descriptive or narrative writing, and this is also 40 marks. So now these are split into AOs. AO1 in section A is to identify and interpret explicit and implicit information and ideas. AO2 is explain, comment on, and analyze how writers use language and structure to achieve effects and influence readers using relevant subject terminology to support their views. And AO4 is evaluate text critically and support this with appropriate textual references. Whoops. My bad. Okay, now section B, AO5, communicate clearly, effectively, and imaginatively, selecting and adapting tone, style, and register for different forms, purposes, and audiences. Organize information and ideas using structural and grammatical features to support coherence and cohesion of text. This is referred to as content and organization. AO6 is use a range of vocabulary and sentences structures for clarity, purpose, and effect, with accurate spelling and punctuation. This is referred to as technical accuracy. Now, examiner comments. Section A. Where a question points you to a specific section of the text, make sure you do not select any information from outside of the given lines. For question 1, avoid copying sections from the text which do not make sense alone or in relation to the focus of the question. Avoid answering question 2 by focusing on content only. You should focus on individual words and short phrases and consider why the writer has used them in relation to the question focus. Ensure quotes are short, relevant, and to the point. Ensure your answer for question 3 focuses on structural features rather than language features. In any answer, do not simply list linguistic features or word types without any relevant or sensible analysis of the writer's intention and how these things contribute to the effect. For section B, planning is essential for a controlled and cohesive response. Keep your writing to a tight focus on fewer events. Stick to no more than 2 main characters and 1 setting. Avoid contrived vocabulary which does not support you in creating an atmosphere or mood. Instead, focus on vocabulary that is more subtle. Do not use too much dialogue or direct speech. This does not add anything to your narrative and should be avoided completely if you choose the descriptive writing option. If you choose to write about the image, remember that this is designed to be a prompt to be added to by your own imagination. Now, Paper 1 Overview, Section A. Okay. So, let me go to question 1. Now, how do you answer question 1? Well, each question in paper 1 section A is worth a different number of marks, and you are being tested on specific skills for each. However, your approach to each question should be the same. The only difference is how you write each answer. So, paper 1 question 1 is a quick search and find question. You are being tested on your ability to retrieve information from a text. You will be asked to list or find 4 things about something from certain lines in the source document. It is very important that you only take your answers from the lines you are given in the question. This question assesses AO1. Identify and interpret explicit and implicit information and ideas. Question 1 is worth 4 marks. Suggested time 5 minutes or 10 minutes including reading time. Text: given lines of source, a 20th or 21st century prose fiction, and AO1 identify and interpret explicit and implicit information. Explicit means clearly stated or obvious, and implicit means suggested rather than directly expressed. Now, you should write your answers as 4 separate statements. Making inferences is not required in this question. You do not need to write a whole paragraph for each answer or attempt to explain what a quote means. You are just being tested on your ability to find the information. It really is that straightforward. Now, steps to success for the search and find question. Following these steps will give you a strategy for answering these questions effectively. Now, number 1, grab your highlighter and read the first question. Read the question carefully and highlight which lines you need to use in the source text for your answers. Highlight the focus of the question. So, the question in this example is, read again the first part of the source from lines 1 to 5. List 4 things about Zoe's surroundings from this part of the source. So this is the focus of the question, Zoe's surroundings. Number 2, scan the section of the source. Highlight only the information directly relevant to the focus of the question. Now, from 1 to 5 it says, it was snowing again. Gentle 6-pointed flakes from a picture book were setting on her jacket sleeve. The mountain air prickled with ice and the smell of pine resin. Several hundred meters below lay the dark outline of St. Bernard and Hout, the Pyrenean resort village. Across to the west, the irregular peaks of the mountain range. So, the mountain air. This is directly relevant to the focus of the question. And number 3, write your answers. Write 4 separate answers. Each answer must be clearly related to the focus of the question. Write each answer as a complete sentence. For example, it is snowing, or she is standing on a mountain. Now, these are some tips and tricks. To achieve high marks, you must ensure only to get your answers from the lines given to you in the question. You may directly quote from the source document or paraphrase. And by paraphrase, I mean to express the same meaning of something using different words or phrases. But you must be specific and your answers must relate to the focus of the question. Responses that just copy the whole section of the text will not get any marks, as you are not demonstrating that you understand the focus of the question and that you are able to identify explicit and implicit information. So therefore, those marks will be cancelled. So make sure you read the question, understand what the question is asking, and make sure it is from the information you have been given. Now we are going to do an example. Paper 1, question 1 example. Paper 1, question 1 is designed to settle you down into the exam. So even though it's only worth 4 marks, these should be easy marks to pick up. Now, we have the question over here. Read again the first part of the source from lines 1 to 5. So this is again about Zoe's surroundings. And here we have the paragraph that I just read. And for 1 mark each, it was snowing, it is snowing, it is snowy, but you don't get a mark if you say it was dark. You get another mark if you say the snow is gentle, the snow is beautiful, the snow has 6 pointed flakes, the snowflakes settled on Zoe's jacket sleeve, the snow looked like it was from a picture book, the surroundings are magical, Zoe is on a mountain, the mountain air is icy, the air was icy, the air prickled with ice, the air smells of pine raisin, St. Bernard. So you get the idea, right? But what you can't get is, for example, if you say the snow is gentle and you say it is gentle, you don't get it because you haven't mentioned snow. Or if you say, for example, the snowflakes settled on Zoe's jacket sleeves, or the snow has 6 pointed flakes. If you say the snow has flakes, it's not specific enough for the examiner to mark it as a mark. So therefore, make sure you are specific about what you're writing about. If, for example, you say, the snow looked like it was from a picture book, but you're right, the snow is from a picture book. Well, it's not. It's what it looks like. It's not from a picture book, but it looks like it was from a picture book. So, yeah. Now we're going to look at question 2. How to answer question 2. Now, paper 1, question 2 is the language set question. It can also be referred to as a how question. Hold on. My apologies. As a how question, you are being tested on your ability to comment on the language choices the writer has made and their effects. So it assesses AO2. Explain, comment on, and analyze how writers use language and structure to achieve effects and influence readers using relevant subject terminology to support their views. So in question 2, you'll be set a question that asks you to comment on a short extract taken from the source text in section A. The text will also be a prose text from either the 20th or 21st century. You'll be asked to consider how the writer uses language to capture the interest of the reader in the section of the text. It is very important that you only form your answer using the lines you are given in the question. So do not start looking and reading another paragraph. Focus on the questions, on the lines that you have been provided. For example, in the first one, it said from lines 1 to 5. So focus from the lines from 1 to 5. Don't go to 6, 7, 8, 9. 1 to 5. Read that, answer the question. So the overview is that question 2 is a language question. Question 2 is worth 8 marks. First one was 4 marks. This one is now 8 marks. You should aim to write 2 to 3 paragraphs. You should spend approximately 10 minutes on this question. Now, how do you approach this question? How do you approach this language question? Well, question 2 will always ask you, how does the writer use language here to describe or convey? The question makes it clear. Makes clear the focus is to analyze the language within the given lines only. For example, in the above example, it is lines 9 to 14. First one was 1 to 5. So you only look between those lines. Don't drift away and start reading lines, 30. But you get the point. The bullet points underneath the question are there to give you clues about what you might want to consider. Remember, these are only prompts and should not be treated as a checklist. This means you can be flexible in how you respond and focus on aspects of languages you find interesting, language you find interesting and are confident in exploring. Your answer should be written in paragraphs and you must use direct quotations from the text to support your points. These quotes need to be directly relevant to the focus of the question. This means that you can be flexible in how you respond and focus on aspects of language. you find interesting and are confident in exploring. Your answer should be written in paragraphs, and you must use direct quotations from the text to support your points. These quotes need to be directly relevant to the focus of the question. Higher responses typically focus on the effects of specific word choices rather than writing about complex language techniques. Having a focused approach will help you to structure your response and focus on quality rather than quantity. So it's the quality, not the quantity. It is 8 marks, but this bullet point is really important. Higher responses typically focus on the effects of specific word choices rather than writing about complex language techniques. So, tips and tricks. It is important to remember that you will not be credited for any points you make that refer to the text outside the given line references in the question. Therefore, you must only use the section that is specific and refer to this continually throughout your response. Now, understanding the wording of language questions. It is important that you understand the wording of each part of the question so that you know how to respond to it accurately. An explanation of each part of the question I'm going to read out now. Question text. Look in detail at this extract from lines to so it can be anything, of the source. This part of the question reminds you to make references to a specific section of the source, so you only look between the two numbers given. 1 to 5, you look from 1 to 5. 6 to 7, you look 6 to 7. Whatever it asks you to, just do it. Don't go scrambling on doing some different lines, God knows. Just writing your own thing. But, next one. How does the writer use... So the next one asks, how does this writer use language to? Now, this part of the question asks you to focus on language only. The word how invites you to explore the methods used by the writer and the impact of their choices. Now, the next question text. You could include the writer's choice of words and phrases, language features, and techniques sentence forms. This part of the question will provide you with the 3 bullet points to consider. The bullet points should help you guide your response, and they should not be used as a checklist. Now, steps to succeed for the language question. Number 1, grab your highlighter and read the question first. Read the question carefully and highlight which lines you need to use in the source text for your answers. Highlight the focus of the question. So in this question, it says, look in the detail of this extract from lines 9 to 14 of the source. How does the writer use language here to describe Zoe's feelings? You could include the writer's choice of words and phrases, language features and techniques, sentence forms. So this is the focus of the question, Zoe's feelings. Now, it says in the paragraph they've given us in the source, it says, if there were a few moments in life that could come as clear and as pure as ice, when the mountain breathed back to her, Zoe knew that she had trapped one such moment and that it could never be taken away. Everywhere was snow and silence, the complete arrest of life, a rehearsal and a pre-echo of death. She pointed her skis down the hill. They looked like weird Tulloons of brilliant red and gold in the powder snow as she waited, ready to swoop. I'm alive. I'm an eagle. Number 2, scan the section of the text. Highlight only the information directly relevant to the focus of the question. Annotate in the margins. For example, in the question above, write down any adjectives that come to mind that describe Zoe's feeling as you read. Start your answer using the wording of the question. For example, the writer uses language to describe Zoe's feeling firstly by comparing the moment she's experiencing to something clear and pure, such as ice. This demonstrates to the examiner that you have understood both the question and the text. Number 4, go into detail. Now you need to make as many points as possible ranging throughout the sections of the text. It is a good idea to make your points in chronological order if possible. Use the annotations you have made in the margins to form a basis of each point. For example, Zoe feels free because the writer uses the metaphor of Zoe as an eagle. For the highest marks, you should zoom in on particular word choices and write about their effects. For a full example of this, we will see the model answer. Now, number 5. Finish your answer with a "so overall" statement. Your finishing statement should sum up what you have discovered about the writer's use of language in this section. Now, exam tips. To get the highest mark, do not get distracted by technical terms or spotting language features that the writer may have used. This is called feature spotting and will not get you marks unless you are able to demonstrate your understanding of why the writer may have used something or what the effect of its use is. Make sure that your selection of quotes are precise and directly relevant to the focus of the question. Deconstruct the quotations you choose, analyzing each one in detail. You can include word-level analysis, exploring the effects of single words, but you need to think about how elements combine to create meaning. Focus on the effect of the writer's choice, thinking about what the writer is doing and why. If you identify a language feature, always explain its intended effect. For example, the writer portrays the character's impending sorrow by using pathetic fallacy. His death is another association of winter. It is used to foreshadow the deaths of other characters, which immediately establishes a sense of fear. Avoid just rewriting long quotations from the text. Break them down and embed them into your sentence. Only use the section of text given to you in a question and do not refer to anything outside of the lines. Avoid speculative and generic comments on how the reader might respond. Generalized comments such as "this makes the reader want to read on" are not credited worthy. Try to be precise and specific as you can. Embedding your quotations means that your quotes are part of your sentence rather than standing alone. This means instead of writing "this is shown by the quote is embedded as part of the point. This enables you to include more specific references to the text in your point and avoids overly long quotes which do not focus on the specific words or phrases that are important. So I'm just going to summarize everything we've just done. So question 1. List 4 things and spend 5 minutes here. Question 1 is usually straightforward. You'll be asked to find 4 specific bits of information, such as a description of something from a specific part of the text. It's likely there will be more than 4 pieces of information available, so you will have plenty to choose from. You can either put your answers in your own words or quote directly from the text. The key things to remember are: read the question carefully, only refer to the specific section of the text in the question, don't spend too long on the question, get your 4 points down, get the 4 marks in the bag, and then move on. Question 2, language analysis, spend 10 minutes here. Question 2 is worth 8 marks and is all about language analysis. There is quite a lot to do in a short space of time, so you'll be asked to analyze how the writer has used language to achieve something. Consider how the following things help to create the specific effect set out in the question. Use any interesting word or phrases, any uses of interesting words and phrases, language techniques, and sentence forms. Make sure you use well-selected quotations directly from the text and explain how these quotes show your points. Aim to make 4 clear points across 2 paragraphs. Each time, make a point, provide a good quotation, and explain how the techniques or use of language creates the effect set out in the question. Ensure you only refer to language in your question. You won't get any marks for commenting on structure here. Use plenty of technical vocabulary you have learned. Now, question 3. We didn't go over this yet, but it's about its structural analysis, and you should spend 10 minutes here. This is a tough one, and students tend to spend more time at school looking at language features than structures. Again, there's a lot to do in this question in a short space of time, and you will be asked to identify and analyze how the writer uses structural features to achieve a specific effect. Your analysis of structure here should focus on shifts or continuity and focus across a whole text. Look, for example, at what the writer focuses on at the beginning, how the focus changes during the main body of the text, and then how they end the piece. Look for shifts in focus, changes in perspective, or elements of continuity. Use quotations directly from the text to demonstrate the structure point and then explain how the quote proves your point. You need to identify the structural feature and analyze how it is effective. Again, look to make 4 clear points across 2 paragraphs. Make the point on structure. Prove it with a quotation and then explain how your quote proves your point. Do not, and I mean do not analyze language in this question. You will not get any marks for talking about language in question 3. That's for question 2. Now, question 4. Evaluate text critically, and you should spend approximately 20 minutes. This is a big one in section A, and there are 20 marks available. Everything is in scope here. They expect you to analyze both language and structure. You need to analyze how successful language and structural points build a particular effect. You'll be given a statement from a student about an extract and asked about the extent to which you agree with it. In your answer, you need to evaluate how successful the writer has been in achieving the points raised in the question. This will include your own interpretation. The key points to remember are: identify language and structural features. Use quotation from the text to demonstrate these features. Analyze how the quotation proves your point. Evaluate how successful this achieves the effect from the question. Focus on the specifics of the question and provide your own clear opinion of how far you agree with the statement in the question. Now, the top tip is to remember to refer to the effects of the reader. What do they think? What do they think about what they're reading? Think about what your opinion is. Explain it and back it up with evidence. Now, AQA English Paper GCSE Paper 1 Section B. Question 5. This is a creative writing task and you should spend approximately 45 minutes here. Question 5 is an extended creative writing task. There are a lot of marks available here, so you should spend around 45 minutes answering the question. You will get a choice of 2 questions, either writing a descriptive piece based on a picture or writing part of a story on a given topic. There are 40 marks at stake. 24 marks are available for the content, so how effectively and imaginatively you write using a range of language and structural techniques. 60 marks are available for good old spelling, punctuation, and grammar. So make sure you use a range of vocabulary and sentence structures with accurate spelling and punctuation. Simply, you need to write a quality, engaging, imaginative piece of fiction. You could use an experience as inspiration, or completely make everything up. Make sure your writing is appropriate to the specific purpose and audience set out in the question. Make sure you really show the examiner what you can do. Use plenty of different language techniques and a variety of vocabulary and sentence forms. Now, spend 5 minutes planning your answer. Write a simple bullet point list, planning each of your paragraphs. Make a note of any interesting language techniques ideas that spring to the mind. This will really help you make most of your writing time. Now, how do you revise? For paper 1. Once you've read this, once I have finished speaking, you guys should have a pretty good idea of what to expect from the paper and what the examiner wants to see from you. Now you need to practice the skills that I've just said. But the best way of doing this is just doing as many past paper exam questions you can. Okay. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for paper 1. So, question 1 is 4 minutes, and you just list 4 things. Question 2 is language analysis. Question 3 is structural analysis. And question 4 is evaluating the text critically. And question 5 is the creative writing task. Now, well, that's not so bad. So, gonna look for something else. Oh, I've just clicked this. Okay. So I'm just gonna read everything again. Okay. Before the exam, think about whether you will answer the questions in order or do question 5 first. Read the fiction extract carefully, ensuring that you have understood key vocabulary. It is worth having a quick look at the questions before you read, to give you an idea of which details to look for and where. And annotate the text while you're reading. Now, question 1, list 4 things. Question 1 is listing 4 things. Now, you have to read the question carefully and underline the key words. The biggest mistake made is students not reading the question properly. Choose 4 things that are asked in the question and that you learn from the source. Simple. Now, question 2. Language effects on the reader. So what you have to do is read the question carefully and underline the key words. Make clear points to the answer, to answer the question. Choose quotations as evidence. Identify language devices, spotlight key words, and explain effects on the reader. Now, what you should not do. Don't forget to use words from the question in your response. Don't choose quotations from outside the specified section named in the question. Now, how does the writer use language to, and then they will ask you. So you should use sentences starting with the writer uses to describe